Hello, it's me, Sandenan from Edukea Education Company. Thank you to our English language, and our now discussion is about the princess and the poor young man. So as usual, we'll have to learn those things. Read and answer questions on a story about the princess and the poor young man. Pronounce and use vocabulary found in the story. Are you able to express past activities and actions, express the manner of doing things, and ask and answer questions, and write a short paragraph. So you have to read the story after the picture, and you have to answer the questions that follow. So here we are princess with the guides. So these are guides. So our story is, once upon a time there was a king. He lived in a palace with his beautiful daughter and wife. His wife, the queen, fell sick and died a few years later. Oh, that's sad. The princess was very lonely after her mother's death. She looked for something to comfort herself. So she developed a habit of walking alone in the palace garden. She also liked reading stories. In the evening, she loved picking flowers and watching birds. Not far from the palace, in the forest, there lived a small community. They were enemies of the king. The people of this community were tall and strong. Their size scared people. Unfortunately, they misused their strength and did wicked things. Now and again, they stole money and the things from people who passed by their land. Sometimes they beat and wounded them badly. The king warned his people against using that path, so they had not passed through the forest. One evening, the princess decided to go for a walk. She said to her father, "I am going to pick flowers in the garden." She went to the garden and started picking flowers. After she had finished, she continued to walk around. The palace garden was very close to the forest. From a distance, the princess saw flowers in the forest, which she had never seen before. She remembered that her father had warned her against getting into the forest. But the flowers were so beautiful that she went further and further into the forest to pick them. She stayed in the forest until it became dark. Suddenly, a group of men captured her. Sad. The princess was scared and said, "Please let me go. My father will be worried about me." The leader asked, "Who is your father?" "My father is the king," answered the princess. Once the men realized the young lady was the princess, they kept her as a captive. They sent a message to the king that they had captured the princess. They wanted a ransom of 500 pieces of gold. So these are those people who captured the princess. As you can see, this is the princess, and these are bad people who have captured her. The king was shocked by the news. He called all the brave men in his kingdom. He asked them to rescue the princess. "The man who will rescue my daughter will marry her," he promised. Wow. So many brave men went into the forest to try to save the princess. Most of them came back wounded. The king was disappointed. Although his men were strong, they were overpowered. After many days had passed, a poor young man decided to go alone to rescue the princess. He went into the forest where the small community lived and pretended to be sick. When they saw him, They felt sorry and took him in. At midnight, the young man woke up quietly and went to look for the princess. He found her locked in a small hut outside. Quickly, he unlocked the door with a little pin. Then he held her hand and they ran as fast as they could. When the strong man woke up in the morning, the princess and the young man were gone. That's good. The young man and the princess reached the palace area in the morning. The king was very happy to see his daughter. He said to the poor young man, "Thank you for rescuing my daughter. You are both clever and brave." Then he told his daughter the promise he had made. So the princess understood and said, "I will marry him. Father, I will marry him, father. He is a good man." Thereafter, a royal wedding was prepared. The poor young man and the princess. Oh, I would like to be a poor man so that I could marry the princess. So it's a very interesting story, and it has many messages that you have to despise nobody, regardless his or her economic status. One day he or she will help you in certain circumstances. As you can see, a poor man, but has helped or has done a task by which a stronger people, stronger men have failed. So questions: what did the princess like to do? Why did the princess go into the forest? What happened to the people who traveled through the forest? Other question: why did the men in the small community take the princess? 5. What happened to most of the men who went to rescue the princess? 6. Who rescued the princess? 7. How did the poor young man save the princess? And the 8. What did the king do when the princess returned to the palace? And the last, what have you learned from this story? So they got married at the palace garden. They lived happily ever after. So you have to read those words: garden, pub, cage, grape, princess, ransom, royal, and comfort. Again, we have following pairs of words. We have to read them: marry and marry, save, save, heart, heart, rich, rich, deep, deep, pick, pick, goat, goat, gold, cold, king, ring. We have to choose the answer that describes correctly the meaning of the underlined word and write its letter in the box. The soldiers thought in the war bravely, without fears, sadness, or joy. Roy and Joy had been enemies for years. They were enemies. They were kind to each other. They helped each other, or they disliked each other. After the death of the parents, her uncle was appointed as her guardian. So what is meant by this underlined word, guardian? The children were scared of the dogs in the street. So scared means they were interested in dogs, they are afraid of dogs, they like dogs. Yesterday, a young man was beaten and robbed by thieves. Such wicked acts should be stopped. So the word wicked, what is meant? He pretended to be blind so that he could beg for money. Pretend. What does it mean? To act as a shameful way, to act in a honest way, to act as if something is true while it's not. She warned us not to go too close to the fire. So warned, to tell someone to do something to get him or her in trouble, to tell someone not to do something to avoid danger, or to tell someone to do something to avoid danger. They were captured by enemy soldiers. So the word captured, what does it mean? To take someone to an unknown place, to make someone do something he or she doesn't want to do, or to take someone by force. The royal palace means a beautiful place, a king's or queen's home, an expensive house. Then after we have to write the opposite of the following words. Example, brave, cowardly. Wicked, what is the opposite? Young, kept, clever. Open, strong, beautiful, bright, poor. Then after we have to complete the sentence below by using appropriate words from the box. So these are our words: quickly, finally, lovely, happily, badly, suddenly, quietly, really, sadly. These are adverbs since they end with ly. An example: the dog ran quickly to its master. Number 1, many passengers on dash. So this is question 1, sentence 1. Sentence 2, as it is read. Sentence 3, as it is. Sentence 4. Sentence 5. Sentence 6, I am dash, sorry for being late. The nurse walked in. Sentence 7. Sentence 8. And the other exercise, punctuate the passage and write capital letters where necessary. There was an old farmer who lived in a village with his 3 sons. All of them were young but very lazy. One day, the farmer fell sick. He decided to call his 3 sons. When they arrived, he said, I am about to die, so I need to tell you something important. A long time ago, I buried some treasure the farm as soon as I die. You must find it. The 3 sons promised their father they would look for the treasure a few days later. Their father died peacefully at his home. After the burial, they decided to fulfill the promise they made to their father. And up to this, at the end of our lesson, thank you for your time. Don't miss the next lesson. Thank you.